for not dying. George Low is speaking while they're talking about, they're assessing essentially the 3-year governance of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We can go there live now.
To give us what we believe is happening in this country. We have 2 very competent members of parliament who we have invited and provided with a platform to tell Ghanaians the real facts. The president's speech was laced with half-truths, quarter-truths, plain lies, and distortions. I believe and have faith in our 2 speakers that they will come here and show us why we shouldn't believe anything that the president will say, has said, and will say. Because consistently, I believe the only thing happening in the NPP today is racing or trying to demonstrate who can tell lies better than the other. Because day in, day out, you are looking at facts and figures that do not represent the real situation on the ground. And yet they look us in the face and tell us. This afternoon, I am not the main speaker, so I will leave it here. Only to welcome you to this very important assignment that you have given our 2 friends. I have no doubt in my mind that we would listen with rapt attention. I welcome also the media, who we expect to take our side of the story out there, and Ghanaians will be the better judges. Once again, welcome. I assure you that we are going to have a very nice time as usual. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. With even the song playing at the background, I do not think there could be any perfect timing than today to have this occasion. May I seize the moment to acknowledge the presence of a few dignitaries in our presence, in no particular order, because we put some of the names down before others also came in. One of those I'll start with is that his name seems to be running faster than his personality. Many of us may have heard his name but have not known the personality as much as is Honorable Alex Treme. We also have Honorable Samson Ayi, who is also the member of Bodi. Samson Ahi. We have Honorable George Low, who just gave us a welcome address. We have Honorable Eric Etubonde, Kwesi Etubonde, from the MP for Kintampo North. We have Mr. Rashid Haruna, who is the Research Director at the NDC Party Headquarters. We have the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Mr. Eric Edem Agbana. Where is he? Oh, okay, yes. We also have Akuska Pene, who is the Deputy Women Regional Organizer for the Volta region. We have Jamila Tu Ibrahim, who was a Sisala East aspirant. Magdalene Nemle, also Karachi West aspirant. I am trying to skip some people. We have the Executive Director of ASEPA, Mensa Thompson, here. We have someone also who I'll introduce later because he will be speaking. I'll be introducing them later. Then we have with us none other than the National Communications Officer. If we will have to define him, I think words cannot actually help us with that. He's revolutionized the system. He has made us understand what communication is about. And he has done more than his best already, but he's still ready to do more. None other than a very young man who is inspiring to all of us, Comrade Sami Jemfi. Yes, I'm sure that many of us have noticed what he has been doing. Many are taking lessons from him as well. And I believe that it will serve as reason for all of us to know that there's what we call times and seasons. And so we only need to wait patiently for our time. You only need to also keep doing what you are doing wherever. and you will definitely be acknowledged in due course. As I already told you, this program is brought to you by Coalition for Restoration. My name is Elikem Kotoko. I'll be taking you through this, and since we have been made to know the purpose for our gathering, I would like to seize the moment to immediately usher us into the first session, which will let us have the first speaker. Okay, and we want to thank our media partners for their active engagement and getting involved in such activities, because we believe they are the major propellers of events of this nature. JoyNews, GH1, all the other media houses that we have here, I'll be acknowledging you all one after the other. Power FM. I'm told also there are some stations speaking in the Bronga Hafo, Sonyani. That's Moonlight. Yankee FM also in Sampa, amongst other things. Class FM is also one of them. Accra FM. Ghana Web is here with us. I see TV Africa, TV3, JoyNews, Hunto TV, and we are streaming live on CFR Facebook, just as the NCR Communication Bureau is also streaming. I would want to quickly get us into motion. We need to deliberate on what you see behind me here, assessing the 3-year reign of President Akufo-Addo. Unfortunately, being a moderator, I may not have to be biased, even if it will be the truth. I do not know how we need to qualify the reign, whether it was tyranny, whether it's dictatorial, whether it's authoritarian, or what at all it is. If it is just a regime, we just cannot tell. Maybe it's a blend of all. They might call it a hybrid reign. And so I would want us to quickly acknowledge the presence of our first speaker, who has been in Parliament for 3 consecutive times. My name is Eric. He is also called Eric. And the meaning of Eric is that you are rich and purposeful. So even if I don't have money in my pocket today, I believe tomorrow I'll be rich, and I'm already being purposeful. And he's the MP for Essunafo South, and also the ranking member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we, with a round of applause, welcome Honorable Eric Okoko.
Thank you very much, Eric, the moderator. Friends of the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm exceedingly excited for the opportunity to join my colleague, Honorable Isaac Adongo, MP for Bolga Central, in assessing the performance of the Akufo-Addo-led government. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in reaction to the invitation by Dr. Bawumia for us to counter data with data, we have decided to use this platform to provide incontrovertible facts to correct the deliberate distortions, falsehoods peddled by both the President and his Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, in the 2020 State of the Nation address and the Kumasi Town Hall meeting, respectfully. As the ranking member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, I would like to start with the agricultural sector. Declining growth in the agricultural sector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in 2017, the agricultural sector grew by 6.1%, which was largely driven by cocoa and food crops. In 2018, government implemented an expanded version of the Planting for Food and Jobs program. 577,000 farmers participated in the program, and 183,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer were distributed to farmers across the country. In spite of this huge investment, growth in the sector declined to 4.8% at the end of 2018. This is sourced from paragraphs 500 and paragraph 502 of 2019 budget and paragraph 76 of the 2020 budget. Also, in 2019, the MPP government claimed that investment in the sector was further increased. 920,000 farmers were engaged, and 292,242 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer was deployed under the Planting for Food and Jobs program. This is also sourced from paragraph 671 of the 2020 budget. They also claim that through the Canadian facility of 125 million Canadian dollars secured by the Mahama-led NDC government to boost agriculture in Ghana, 216 brand new pickups were distributed to departments of agriculture of the district assemblies. 3,000 motorbikes were released to enhance agricultural extension services. 2,700 agricultural extension officers were also deployed. This was also sourced from paragraph 503 of the 2019 budget. Ladies and gentlemen, in the face of this huge investment, growth in the agricultural sector for the first half of 2019 was 2.6% compared to 4.7% within the same period in 2018. The claim by the President in the recent State of the Nation address that the agricultural sector grew by 6.4% in the year 2020 is completely false and not borne out by the facts contained in government's own 2020 budget statement approved by Parliament. This paradoxical situation shows that, contrary to the long-cherished agricultural principle that you plant a seed and reap a harvest, the Akufo-Addo government has been planting a harvest and reaping a seed in the last 3 years. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in short, the declining trend for the agricultural sector from 2017 to 2019 completely belies the President's claim that the agri sector is doing well. Despite the political sloganeering and hollow rhetoric of the President Akufo-Addo, the reality on the ground is that all is not well with Ghana's agricultural sector. The much-touted interventions of government in the agri sector are not yielding the desired dividends, and farmers are suffering as a result of that. Now, planting for food. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to subject the much-touted Planting for Food and Jobs program to a more detailed evaluation and assessment. Let me start for the records that funding for the Planting for Food and Jobs program was secured by the Mahama-led NDC government in 2015 from Canada. The facility, which was intended to implement a program called Modernizing Agriculture Productivity through the local economy, MAPLE, was delayed because of the Canadian election in October 2015, which ushered into office a new government. The Akufo-Addo government inherited this facility upon assumption of office in January 2017, together with the 50% fertilizer subsidy program, and changed the name of the program to Modernizing Agriculture Ghana, MAG, upon which the Planting for Food and Jobs program is anchored. It is worthy of note that the Planting for Food and Jobs program is solely for peasant farmers and does not include commercial farmers. The Planting for Food and Jobs program, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is sorry for peasant farmers and does not include commercial farmers. Peasant farmers produce primarily to feed their families and only sell surpluses to enable them procure other basic needs. Commercial farmers, on the other hand, produce in anticipation of market demand. Hence, the bumper harvest being trumpeted by the Akufo-Addo government is largely as a result of production by commercial farmers and cannot be attributed to the success of Planting for Food and Jobs program. Ladies and gentlemen, in the recent State of the Nation's address, President Akufo-Addo stated that not a single grain of maize has been imported into Ghana over the last 2 years. This is palpably false, and I would like to demonstrate that. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USD, Ghana in 2016 imported 31,000 metric tons of maize under the watch of President Mahama, 2016. In 2017, Ghana imported 19,000 metric tons of maize. In 2018, Ghana imported 26,000 metric tons of maize. In 2019, Ghana imported 50,000 metric tons of maize. The program, which was intended to reduce importation of maize, among other things, has landed Ghana into increasing import of maize from 31,000 metric tons in 2016 to 50,000 metric tons in 2019. The declining fortunes of the Planting for Food and Jobs program is largely as a result of the continuous smuggling of huge quantities of fertilizer meant for farmers outside, in most cases by MPP apparatchiks. Instead of admitting the failings and challenges confronting the program, the Akufo-Addo government has set up an office at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, which has been cooking figures to mislead the nation on the true state of the Planting for Food and Jobs program. The propaganda department is different from the Statistics Research and Information Directorate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, which is officially recognized to provide statistics on the agri sector. The following are few examples of deliberately cooked data which have been churned out by the newly created propaganda unit at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Example 1. In paragraph 789 of the 2018 budget, it is provided that in 2017, 2 million bags of subsidized fertilizer were distributed to farmers. 2 million bags of fertilizer translate into 100,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer. So we know from the budget of 2018 that in 2017, government distributed 100,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer. Also, in paragraph 502 of the 2019 budget, we have been told that government distributed 183,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer in 2018. So 2017 and 2018, we know from the two budgets, 2018 budget and 2019 budget, that government distributed 100,000 metric tons plus 183,000 metric tons, which is equal to 283,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer. Strangely, when you read the 2020 budget, under paragraph 257, we are told that between 2017 and 2018, government distributed a whopping 551,000 metric tons. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a clear situation of government massaging figures to whitewash government performance in the eyes of the ordinary Ghanaian. 551,000 metric tons is an equivalent of 11,020,000 bags of 50 kg each, 50 kilograms each. If the subsidy is 75 Ghana per bag, then it means that government, having distributed 551,000, would have paid a subsidy of 824,500,000 Ghana cedis into the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian farmer. The actual distribution, as per the budgets I have mentioned, indicates that government distributed 283,000 metric tons within the 2 years, but not 551. And therefore, the subsidy paid was 424,500,000 Ghana cedis, and not the 826,500,000 Ghana cedis as claimed by the Honorable Finance Minister during the 2020 budget presentation. For these conflicting figures reported by the ministry in government's own budget statements, it is clear that the amount of subsidy paid to farmers from 2017 and 2018 is bloated by a whopping 404 million Ghana cedis. Example number 2. In paragraph 388 of the 2018 budget, it is stated that 201,000 farmers participated in the Planting for Food and Jobs program in 2017. Again, in paragraph 500 of the 2019 budget, we are told that 577,000 farmers participated in the program. So for the 2 years, we have 201,000 farmers participating in 2017, 577,000 farmers participating in 2018. But we must also understand that this is cumulative. We don't add, because those farmers who participated in 2017 participated in 2018. So if we are looking for the total number of farmers who participated in the program for the 2 years, the figure should be the 577,000 as mentioned in paragraph 500 of the 2019 budget. Surprisingly, in the 2020 budget, in paragraph 257, government reported to Parliament and therefore Ghanaians that in the 2017 and 2018, in the 2 years, 880,000 farmers participated in the program. This means that 303,000 farmers who never participated in the program have been added as farmers who benefited from the program. These are ghost farmers, and we are looking for them. Sadly, these conflicting cook figures is what form the basis for government claim that 1,541,545 jobs have been created under the Planting for Food and Jobs program between 2017 and 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to expose another palpable falsehood which has been peddled repeatedly by the Akufo-Addo government relative to the number of jobs created under the Planting for Food and Jobs. In paragraph 259 of the 2020 budget, the Ministry of Finance reported, and with your indulgence, I would like to quote, Mr. Speaker, the intervention also created significant jobs along the commodity value chain, a total of 746,601 and 794,944 jobs were created in 2017 and 2018, respectively. About 94%, please take note of this point, about 94% of these jobs are linked to farm-level employment. They have created, in the 2 years, they say they have created over 1.5 million jobs under the Planting for Food. And they add that 94% of these jobs are created on the farm level. So these are farm level employment. 4% to value chain and post-harvest services provision, and the remaining 2% to extension, delivery, and ICT. Out of these jobs created in 2017 and 18, 94% is equal to 1,449,052. This is what we call Bade. Peasant farmers work on small-scale farming, small lands. They take fertilizers and they take improved seeds. Now they move to the field, and government is saying that they employ people, and that is job creation. And that because of the fertilizer distributed to them, they employed 1.4 million and over people, and that is job which has been created by the MPP government. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a fact that peasant farmers, most of them, they don't even hire laborers. When you go to most of the Akan communities, they engage in what is called a Inobwa. Under the Inobwa arrangement, what they do is to undertake specific tasks on the farm. And government is saying that this is part of the job they have created for Ghanaians. And that is why government is saying that I have created over 1.5 million jobs under the program, but 94% of the jobs are on the farms. So Inobwa is the new job they have created for Ghanaians. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we want to ask some specific questions. How can this constitute job creation by Nana Addo's government? And what mechanism did government use to determine the farm level employment? What is the specific mechanism government used to know the number of people, individual peasant farmers, who bought subsidized fertilizers from government have employed on their farms? This question must be answered. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I strongly believe that at this juncture, I have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is executing a stratagem of deception in the governance of our nation. We cannot forget the 50,000 metric tons of fertilizer worth $12 million that disappeared to neighboring countries in 2018. In 2019, we are told that another 20,000 metric tons worth over $5 million could not be accounted for. When the Parliamentary Select Committee of Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs inquired into the whereabouts of the fertilizer, the ministry responded, it has been smuggled to neighboring countries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the true state of the Planting for Food and Jobs program. All is not well with our farmers. And as the president will have us believe, our farmers are really suffering. Declining growth of the fisheries sector. And even before I take that, let me quickly add this. In January 2019, government of Ghana decided to apply to the ECOWAS strategic stocks for cereals. That was the first time the Republic of Ghana sent an application to the ECOWAS strategic stocks for assistance. And let me give you a brief background of the strategic stocks. In 2013, the ECOWAS heads of state met in Yamoussoukro in Abidjan and decided to establish a strategic stock to support member states who may be in dire need of food, especially when there is drought in the country, there is famine or any unforeseen contingency, and the country is in dire need of food. ECOWAS will then step in to release some of the food some of the cereals from their store to support those countries. Ghana in January 2019 applied that we needed support. And the ECOWAS Commissioner in charge of agriculture and water resources, Sekou Sangari, had to travel from Senegal to come and present cereals, 2,750 tons of cereals, rice, maize, millet, and sorghum to Ghana. On that day, Sekou Sangari indicated that we have served other countries like Niger and Burkina Faso, and you have also requested, so we are responding to your request on the firm belief that you will fill our store grain for grain when the time is due. The Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Sagre Bombagi, who received the cereals on behalf of the Republic of Ghana, indicated that, don't worry, Mr. Sekou Sangari, Ghana will be able to pay back in March because we are implementing a program called Planting for Food and Jobs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if it is true that we have produced food in abundance to the extent that we are exporting the excess to neighboring countries, why should Ghana accept that humiliating position to be begging and borrowing rice around the world? Now, when you ask, they say that, oh, the strategic stocks, the stocks are located in Ghana here. So we didn't borrow. But you see, the Ghanaian media has been very charitable to this government. When you Google for this story, just even in this one, let's do a short exercise here. Just something simple. Take your phone, go to Google, and just enter ECOWAS donate cereals to Ghana. You get the story. The heading is ECOWAS donate cereals. But when you read, the contents is different. Somebody is taking somebody's cereals and promising to repay. Is that a donation? Is that a donation? So, you know what happened? Even after March, Ghana was unable to pay. So last November, we asked them when Ghana was going to pay back the cereals that we borrowed. And the answer was that they will be able to pay by the end of 2019. As to whether they have been able to pay or not, we cannot confirm that. But we believe that once Parliament is in session, we'll probe into the matter and get you the response immediately. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the decline in the agricultural sector is reflected in the fisheries subsector as well. The first showed that in the year 2016, the fisheries sector grew by 3.1%. In 2017, when the government of the MPP was in full gear, the fisheries subsector grew by negative 1.4. In 2018, it grew by negative 6.8. And in the first half of 2019, it grew by negative 2.2%. This is sourced from page 20, paragraph 76 of their own 2020 budget. In other words, the Akufo-Addo government has supervised the continuous contraction and decline of the fishery sector from positive growth of 3.1% bequeathed to them by the Mahama NDC government into negative growth for the past 3 years. It is even sadder to note that this alarming decline is expected to worsen as low as negative 10% at the end of 2019 due to gross mismanagement of the sector. The fishery sector has been neglected by President Akufo-Addo, and fisher folks are being subjected to excruciating hardships and penury. The 2020 budget captures some of the problems. According to paragraph 720 of the 2020 budget, in March 2019, fish farmers along the Volta Lake suffered declining production through the outbreak of infectious spleen and kidney virus diseases. that devastated their fish farms, resulting in huge financial losses. Even though the ministry requested for 12 million Ghana cedis to be able to address this problem, government released out only 2 million cedis, leaving a massive shortfall of 84%, causing the problem to persist. We can only hope for the return of President John Dramani Mahama to rescue our hardworking fish farmers from the shackles and tentacles of abject poverty and neglect. The willful neglect of the fisheries sector is exacerbated by the increase in registration fees from $35 to $200 for fishing vessels. This vicious over 570% increase in registration fees is a death blow to an industry already on its knees. The NDC demands an immediate downward review of these registration fees to ameliorate the plight of suffering fishermen. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is sad to note that the Fisheries College started under the NDC administration at Anomabo, which was intended to qualitatively improve the fishing industry through research and academic engagement, and was about 66% complete at the time we were leaving office, has been abandoned to rot by the Akufo-Addo government despite several assurances by government to ensure its completion. In fact, the last time we checked, they told us that they have added 2%. So the project is now at 68% complete. Again, and still in the central region, the Elmina Fish Processing Facility reduced to processing of ice blocks over the 3 years. Due to the mismanagement of the fishery sector by the Akufo-Addo government, importation of fish has been on the rise since the year 2017. For instance, from a total of $160 million worth of fish imported in 2017, the Global Agricultural Information Network, under the auspices of USDA Foreign Agricultural Service, has revealed that Ghana imported $311 million in seafood and fish products in 2018 alone. Declining cocoa production. Ladies and gentlemen, it is sad to note that Akufo-Addo's government is fast eroding all the gains we made in the cocoa sector under the Mahama regime. Annual production has continuously declined in the past 2 cocoa seasons, thereby dwindling the incomes of our cocoa farmers. In the 2016-2017 cocoa season, Ghana produced a total of 969,000 metric tons of cocoa, which is the second highest production level in the history of cocoa in Ghana. However, in 2017 and 2018 cocoa season, the figure dropped to 904,000 metric tons, representing 12% decline. Also, in the 2018-2019 annual cocoa production dropped to 811,125 metric tons. Ladies and gentlemen, what is baffling is that in 2017, government recruited 10,000 youth for the artificial hand pollination program, intention to increase cocoa production by 189%. This is captured in paragraph 413 and paragraph 414 of the 2018 budget. However, as I have already indicated, at the end of 2017, production did not increase, but rather decrease by 12%. Again, in 2018, government claimed to have engaged 30,000 youth in the same hand pollination with the aim of improving production. Here again, production declined by almost 100,000 metric tons at the end of 2018-2019. In 2019, government claimed to have re-engaged the 30,000 youth for pollination, but the figures we are gathering from the LBCs The license buying companies indicate that there will be further decline in cocoa production this year. These indisputable facts show that the cocoa sector is fast retrogressing under the Akufo-Addo government as a result of poor policy choices for the sector, such as cancellation of the free cocoa fertilizer program. In fact, under our watch, we used to give fertilizer to cocoa farmers free of charge because we wanted to improve the fertility of the soil as a means of increasing cocoa production. This government assumed office, and the fertilizer on which we had embossed not for sale, they decided to sell the fertilizers to farmers at a cost of 80 Ghana cedis per bag. Most farmers could not afford to buy, and most of these fertilizers were left to rot in the offices. When you go to Western region, there's a village a community called Dantano. I believe that is Professor Frimpong Boateng's hometown. I personally visited that place, and I saw thousands of these fertilizers rotting in the office, several of them across the country. Another reason is over-politicization of the mass spraying and the pollination works. Non-increase of producer price of cocoa for 2017 and 2018, and discontinuation of over 200 cocoa road projects commenced by the Mahama NDC government. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way Ghana can see growth and progress in the cocoa sector is for President John Dramani Mahama to be re-elected on December 7, 2020, to rescue the sector from the clutches of the insensitive and inept Akufo-Addo's government. Upon assumption of office on 7 January 2021, President Mahama will restore the distribution of free fertilizers and chemicals to cocoa farmers, complete all abandoned cocoa road projects, restore payment of bonuses to cocoa farmers, just to mention a few. Dr. Bawumia, in his town hall meeting in Kumasi, indicated that they've been paying bonuses to farmers. That is a lie. Since they assumed office, they've never paid a peso to any cocoa farmer in this country as bonus. In fact, under our watch, we used to pay 5 Ghana cedis per bag bonus to farmers, and immediately they assume office, they abolish it. Indeed, the trend of producer price of cocoa in the last 20 years in Ghana is a clear testament to President Mahama's superior record in the promotion of the welfare of cocoa farmers as captured below. President Rawlings left office in 2001 January with a bag of cocoa being sold at 20 Ghana cedis, 17 pesos. President Kufuor took over in 2001 and left in January 2009. The price of a bag of cocoa was then 102 Ghana cedis, indicating that over the 8 years, President Kufuor added 80 Ghana cedis, 30 pesos, to every bag of cocoa purchased in Ghana. Then Professor Mills took over from 2009 to 2012. He also left with a bag of cocoa being sold at 212 Ghana cedis, indicating that Professor Mills, over the 4-year period, added 110 Ghana cedis to every bag of cocoa purchased in Ghana. Then came President Mahama, 2012 to 2016. At the time President Mahama was living, a bag of cocoa was being purchased at 475 Ghana cedis, indicating that over the 4-year period, President Mahama added 263 Ghana cedis to a bag of cocoa. Then in January 2017, Nana Akufo-Addo took the mantle. Up to the end of 2019, the price is 515, indicating that over the 3 years, Nana Akufo-Addo has added 40 Ghana cedis to the price of a bag of cocoa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, It is sad to note that rather than increasing the producer price of cocoa and promote the welfare of cocoa farmers, the Akufo-Addo government has increased office expenditure significantly at the Cocoa Board head office to the detriment of the hardworking cocoa farmers in the country. Indeed, cocoa farmers are suffocating under the clueless and insensitive Akufo-Addo government. Now, there is this important question we have to answer today. The lingering but ignorant question of NDC and social interventions. They have asked us this question more than 1,000 times, and we believe that this is the most appropriate forum for us to respond to that question. In October 2018, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, asked the NDC to provide a single social intervention that reduces the hardships of Ghanaians. This challenge has been uncritically adopted by other MPP acolytes and re-echoed by Dr. Bawumia during his town hall meeting in Kumasi 2 years later. This question will be answered by information from the Finance Minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. We are going to use their own budget to answer the question they posed to us. I refer to paragraph 781, paragraph 783, paragraph 574, paragraph 696, and paragraph 785 of the 2017 budget, where he recounts achievements of the NDC. Take note of the first 4 words in paragraph 781. Now, paragraph 781 has been displayed there. Other social intervention expenditures in the sector for the period under review included an amount of 71.91 million for the provision of subsidies to senior high schools. This is referring to 2016, what they inherited from the NDC. They are saying that under our watch, we expended 25.96 million on the implementation of progressively free SHS. And they continue, 22.57 million for basic education certificate examination. Basic certificate examination. We were paying 70% of the registration fees for the pupils, and the parents were paying 30%. Today, the MPP is paying 30%, and they call that 30% a social intervention, but the 70% cannot be called a social intervention. And then they spoke about capitation grants. They talked about feeding grants for colleges of education, and so on and so forth. And there are several paragraphs. This is just under education. They also talk about social interventions under agriculture. They mentioned the free fertilization, agricultural mechanization centers, and several others. And then you go to paragraph 696, they talk about the urban cards for the elderly. The card that was supposed to provide free transportation for the elderly and preferential treatment in terms of medication and everything. So they mention all these things in their budget. Then after capturing this in their budget, they come out to ask us, what social intervention have you done? So we are asking them to go and read the 2017 budget that they themselves presented to Parliament. Other social intervention, I've read that portion, so let me skip that one. That's the claims. So what we are saying is that on the issue of social interventions, the NDC as a party has done so much. And we are not even saying it. But they decided to capture them in their own budget. And then, in turn, come and ask us, tell us what you have done in respect of social interventions. Distinguished invited guests, they have also posed to us another important question. The question is, if you people are saying you should abolish free SHS, a double track, what is the alternative? Even if we abolish double track, we in MPP believe that abolishing double track means abolishing free SHS. In fact, in the town hall meeting in Kumasi, that was what Dr. Bawumia said, that abolishing double track means abolishing free SHS. We want to say that that is not true. That is not true, and I want to answer that. President Mahama started the construction of 123 secondary schools. More than 50 of them were completed and operationalized. The rest are at various stages of completion. If you complete all those schools, there wouldn't be the need for double track. But if for political reasons, you decide not to implement President Mahama's projects, you also promise to deliver 350 secondary schools within 18 months. If you, the MPP, have kept its promise of delivering 350 senior high schools within 18 months, there wouldn't have been the need for double track. Then apart from that, we have over 500 private secondary schools in this country. Their facilities were inspected and approved by the Ministry of Education as facilities befitting secondary school education in this country. If they are included in the implementation of the free SHS program, that very day, double track will disappear immediately. It is just a matter of engaging private secondary school owners, and discussing the modalities under which their facilities can be used as schools as part of the free SHS program. Immediately you rope them in, double track will no longer be in existence. But our people have decided not to do that. We have to remember that President Mills of blessed memory was faced with a bigger challenge when the 3-year and 4-year SHS programs crashed during his tenure. The numbers were more than the reported figures that led to double track, and yet, through innovative policies, parents and children never had to suffer through double track. The failure of Akufo-Addo to complete Mahama's project, coupled with lack of planning, are the reasons why the double track nemesis is compromising the quality of education that our children are experiencing in SHS. The NDC birthed the 1992 Constitution, in which free education at all levels, including SHS, is provided for. The free SHS is therefore our baby, which cannot be taken away from us. It is therefore strange that President Akufo-Addo, who boycotted the Consultative Assembly that drafted the 1992 Constitution and captured free education, now claims to be the father of the brainchild of the NDC. Now, health insurance. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in the State of the Nation address, indicated that health insurance is now solid, is now vibrant, buoyant, and is functioning as expected. 3 days after the address, service providers came out in a press conference to indicate that since March 2019, they have not been paid up to today. And that if they are not paid at the end of the month, cash and carry will come back. This is what they describe as buoyant health insurance. In the 2019 State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo claimed to have paid a phantom 1.2 billion cedis NHIS debt left by the NDC government. Yet, I share with you a letter dated March 21, 2019, and signed by George Asamoah Ba, Deputy Director, Budget and Management Accounting of the NHIS, addressed to the Deputy Minister of Health, if they can show the letter. That is the letter. Now, when you look at the letter, it talks about the indebtedness of NHIS, and the total debt is 1.2 billion. President Akufo-Addo indicated that we in the NDC bequeath a debt of 1.2 billion to them. Now look at a letter written by the NHIS itself. And this was attached to some of the documents they submitted to us in Parliament. Now they talk about arrears. They talk about arrears for 2016. And the amount there is 844 million. And then they say that there are other arrears, claims. Is that not it? Somebody should read for us. So when they assumed office in January, within the 3 months, they also incurred some debts. And that is there. And then they also paid some suppliers. 107. So when they add the debt they incurred to what they inherited from us, the total was 1.2 billion. And Nanado claimed that all the 1.2 billion was the debt that the NDC left behind. Meanwhile, NDC was not in office between 2017 January and March. Yet we incurred the total debt. That is the insincerity, the level of insincerity that we are talking about. Now let me go to the health insurance and demonstrate again. You recall that under Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana had free medication. You go to hospital, they treat you, and you go home without paying anything. Suddenly, in 1971, when President Akufo-Addo's father became the head of state, and Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Buzia was the prime minister, they decided to introduce cash and carry in this country. When you say this, some people will challenge. But I want all of us to once again use our phones. Let's Google something. Hospital Fees Act of 1971. And let's see what is there. In 1971, they passed a law that says that whoever goes to hospital must pay. And that is the beginning of cash and carry in this country. So when the NDC came to power, President Rawlings thought of coming out with a health insurance scheme that will ensure that healthcare is affordable so that every Ghanaian can access healthcare without much difficulties. This issue was raised in Parliament, and there was a heated debate on it. The minority decided to hold a press conference. Get me a copy of it. So the minority then held a press conference. Once again, you can use your phones wherever you are, and then you Google, government must accept useful minority suggestions. This press conference was addressed by Honorable Abdul, then minority ranking member on health. And let's listen to what they said. Dr. Kwame Abdul, MP for Menchia, on Tuesday, called on the government to accept useful suggestions from the opposition. He noted that billions of cedis and energy wasted on the single national health insurance scheme could have been saved if the government had not brushed aside the minority suggestion in 1997 that such a scheme was not viable. So in 1997, NDC was thinking about providing a national health insurance scheme, a single one that will cover everybody in this country. And the MPP said that that was not workable. They were looking for mutual health insurance schemes, schemes that will be district-based. So this was the argument. Now they won elections in 2000, and in 2001 they assumed office. And then they passed a law. Let me have the law. They passed a law to establish, it's in the back, to establish health insurance. And let's look at what is in that law. Hurry up. No. Yes. Okay. Now this is the law they passed. Insurance, National Health Insurance Act, 2003, Act 650. This is the law they passed. Now let's all listen. The National Health Insurance Act 2003, an act to secure the provision of basic healthcare services to persons resident in Ghana through mutual and private health insurance schemes. So they established schemes. This law established schemes. So under President Kufuor, every district had its insurance scheme. So when you register in Ododio district, or let's say Sunafo South district, and then you travel to Bodi district and you fall sick, you could not access health care from that district because it was district-based. Secondly, all the people who were employed under the scheme had to be paid by the district. So if we are employed by Bodi district, and then they don't have money that month, there is no way you can be paid. That was the scheme they provided. Then NDC won elections in 2009. And we said, no, this is not what we promised Ghanaians. We wanted to have a single health insurance scheme that will cover every Ghanaian, so that wherever you are within the boundaries of Ghana, you could access health care without any difficulty. So we passed this law, National Health Insurance Act 2012. And this law is signed, was assented to by President John Dramani Mahama. This is the law that established the National Health Insurance Authority. So the National Health Insurance Authority that we have now did not exist under President Kufuor. We established it. And according to the law, there should be offices in all the regions. And then because of the single health insurance, when you register now, wherever you are in Ghana, you can access medical care. And besides, all the workers are now paid from the center. So this health insurance that we have today is never the child of the MPP. It's never the child of the MPP. And if this is not social intervention, what else can be described as social intervention? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I was assigned to deal with the agricultural sector. And I believe that from the presentation this afternoon, all of you have come to appreciate that if cocoa production is declining, if the fishery sector is growing in the negatives, if growth in the crop sector is also declining, if Ghana is borrowing serious, and we are unable to pay even as we speak today, then where is the buoyant agriculture that is being touted all over the country? Number two, You have also realized that all the issues, all the questions they have posed to us, we have effectively dealt with all those questions. Now, what we are asking the MPP to tell us is that they have been in office for almost 3 years, 2 months. They have not built one secondary school anywhere in this country. They have not built one hospital anywhere in this country. NDC, within 4 years, President Mahama built 32 nursing training colleges. 32 nursing training colleges. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for 3 years, not one. Not one. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, now they claim that NDC is coming to abolish free SHS. I want to indicate here and now that MPP, their fathers, Progress Party, introduced payment of school fees in our universities. Yes. You can go and read the 1971-72 budget. It's captured there. It is there. 1971-72 budget. They indicated that from this year, every student in the university will pay the fees. You pay for yourself, you pay for bed, you pay everything except tuition fee. That was the beginning of payment of school fees in our universities. They introduced payment PTA dues in Ghana. Because under President Nkrumah, we had the local schools. And government was the sole financier of education. But they came and said, look, it is not easy for government to fund education. Can we also contribute? Can we pay something to support government in the provision of school infrastructure? That was the beginning of PTA dues in Ghana. So today, if they want to change, nobody will prevent them from changing. But they shouldn't pretend that they are more social intervention oriented than the NDC, because we have a track record that is unmatched. On this note, I thank you for the opportunity.
That is the Member of Parliament for Esunafo South, Eric Opoku, there, wrapping up for us the NDC's forum. They're talking about various sectors of the economy. They say that of the country. They say that this is their own perspective as far as the state of the nation is. And very soon we'll be also hearing from Mr. Adongo, who will also be addressing issues on the economy. But I have here in the studio with me members of Parliament from the minority side. We'll be talking about the debate as well that went on in Parliament. He talks about the person he just heard, Mr. Eric Opoku, just talks about how the NPP, they believe, is eroding the gains of the NDC. They talk about how the NPP, they believe, is neglecting the fishery sector. They talk about the cocoa sector that they say is suffering. They talk about John Mahama being the one to rescue the country from all of these things that they've outlined. And then they also talk about Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia's address at the town hall. They said he lied about bonuses being paid to farmers. They said that the NDC will restore that. The NDC will remove double track system in the education system. They say the NDC will see to an effective operationalization of the NHIS. They talk about 32 nursing training colleges, which they say John Mahama built in 4 years. NPP, they say, or Nana Akufo-Addo, they say, has not built any in the 3 years. Essentially, they are assessing the 3-year governance of President Akufo-Addo. We'll take a quick break. When I return, I have Abdul Aziz, Member of Parliament for Mion. I also have Edward Bauer, who's Member of Parliament for Dongo. They all join me in a quick discussion about the state of the nation. Do stay. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. We'll take you back to the NDC's forum, but let's talk quickly about what happened in Parliament today regarding the debate. Well, Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak has been justifying the caucus's decision to abstain from debating the President's State of the Nation address. He says the move is to ensure that the concerns for which they walked out on the president ahead of the State of the Nation address remain fresh in the minds of the public. He says the minority MPs are convinced not participating in the debate will be in the best interest of the caucus and other constituents. Well, I have here in the studio two of the minority MPs, Abdulaziz, Member of Parliament for Mion, like I said, and Edward Bauer, Member of Parliament for Bon. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And certainly your party is addressing the nation concerning what you believe is your own proper State of the Nation address, I believe. But let's talk about how the debate went today in Parliament. You decided not to be a part of that debate. A lot of people have said that this is certainly not in the interest of the nation. There is no way you can convince your constituents and the people, the general public of Ghana, that this action you took is in the best interest of the state. Yes, any of you can go ahead.
Okay then. Thank you very much, and then good afternoon or evening to your viewers. I think that our whip, I'm talking of Honorable Mubarak Mutaka, stated it very clearly. There were certain reasons why we boycotted the State of the Nation's address. The issue of elections, security, the issue of even the completion of the new register, the issue of free expression and free speech, the issue of just general security, and all others. So we stated those things, and that was the very reason why we said we're not going to be part of the nation, the State of the Nation's address. To go back now and debate the address itself would have been a contradiction of our position, because our position is a principled one. Our position is geared towards ensuring that issues that we felt should be on the front burner in terms of discussions, in terms of public discourse, remain as such. And therefore, to have gone ahead to discuss the issues of what the president said on the floor of the House, would have been a contradiction. And we're excited that at least this afternoon, we are seated here again to talk about a boycott instead of looking at the substance. Because the substance itself is being dealt with at various levels.
Well, you could say that, but people have said that you did not listen to the president in Parliament, but you watched him. Most of you listened to him anyway, either on radio or on TV. You did follow the discussions. People have said that you'd have done your constituents and Ghanaians a lot of good if you had stayed in Parliament to at least provide alternative arguments to the arguments that they made. So today, for example, and I'll come to you with that because you were in the power sector, we had the Minister for Information argue out how the NPP has been a better administrator of the country's energy and power sector, and how it could have been worse should you have still been in power. But I want to hear you, Member of Parliament for Myong, on why your thoughts on the arguments people make that you have done us all a great disservice because you could have been there even though you did not. So you made a statement on the day of the State of the Nation. You walked out. That statement has been made. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't you have just stayed and provided alternative arguments for nation building?
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to our viewers. Like you indicated, we had to stay off or walk out from the SONA with very basic reasons why we walked out. We addressed a press conference, and the reasons for our walkout was made known. And so, if you don't listen to a man, you have no justification coming to debate on what he has.
Did you sincerely not listen to the president? You did.
We didn't. At least
most of you did.
If I am privy to what the president said, it is because it is captured on Hansard that I can read. But I personally, and I can tell you that our members did not watch it.
No, but it's one thing not listening in Parliament to make a statement, but it's another thing saying you did not listen. As a member of Parliament, you owe your constituents that responsibility of listening.
No.
At least.
I'm
so
saying
you can
that
debate
members of Parliament, apart from listening to a president in the chamber, also have the opportunity to read the statement on Hansard, which we have done. And we would have an appropriate platform to be able to respond to all that was captured in that statement. Debating in Parliament is not the only forum for us as a minority. We have some other tools that we can deploy to be able to advance our argument. We are going to deal with all the issues that the president came to raise in the chamber. But trust me, we should not behave as if this is the first time we have seen a minority either walk out from SONA or refuse to
that argument has been made.
Exactly,
that argument has been made.
No, you see, sometimes
it's not about who did it worse.
Exactly.
It's about how
it's not
well
about
does it serve the interest of Ghanaians.
The fact of the matter is that our action is legitimate. This is not the first time that we are experiencing such a walkout or a refusal to debate a SONA. It's happened before, and we think that we have some other platforms that we would use as a minority to be able to tell the Ghanaian public what our position is
what we think is the true state of the nation. Perhaps what we are seeing today is at the parties level. The minority as a caucus itself would want to engage the public. How we will do that, I will leave that one to our leadership. What we are seeing today is at the party level. The minority itself would respond appropriately.
Okay.
How and when we will do it, I'll leave that one to the leadership of the minority.
Okay, like I said, this is just a quick interruption because we'll be going back to the NDC's forum. But I'm coming to you. On the floor today, the Member of Parliament for Fonse Ayerbi and also Minister for Information indicated that government, because of the very good administration that government, the attention, let me say, they pay to the energy and the power sector, we're enjoying consistent. In fact, for the past couple of years, everybody would say that power has been fairly stable in many places. Just a few weeks or so ago, people have complained about power outages, but the minister said today that if you look at the interventions that they've made in that sector, it could have been worse based on the mismanagement of the NDC of the power sector. How do you respond to that?
I would have been excited that whoever was interviewed would have asked them what intervention they put up. And in terms of enjoying some
I think you were speaking on the floor
Yeah,
today.
so that's what I'm saying. Okay, that's also a good point you have made. If you look at the fact that power was fairly stable, it did not start in 2017. Indeed, in 2015 December, there was an official declaration that, look, we had sorted out the issue of power deficit. Two, we had a situation where even in March 2016, the then running mate had indicated that John Mahama should not be given credit for solving them so. So he had admitted that that had been done. But you see, Gifty, there's a point that we need to make. The very reason why we were in what we are and why we are today, and the fact that you have people not even having power. I just saw that people in Kumasi and other things were demonstrating the fact that they were not getting power for a period of time. Now,
some people called into our Super Money show today to make the complaint. We've also been speaking to some communities where they've had power shortages.
Look, let me tell you, we had issues of power in terms of just the capacity, and we had issues of finance, just the fact that we needed money in the sector to be able to run the sector. The issue of adding capacity is now history because everybody knows the amount that had been added into it. The issue of finance had also been dealt with the Energy Sector Levy Act, the accruals from that. Even post-ESLA, you go back, there's a document that has been authored by this current government itself. That was in January 2019. That indicated as of January 2019, post-ESLA, ESLA that gives us roughly about 3.6 billion Ghana cedis annually. Post that, you know what is happening? The total debt in the energy sector alone was $2.748 billion. Out of this, 851 was owed to the private sector. Indeed, they tell you very clearly, they state the areas where we have these challenges. Part of them are just purely government negligence. So for Kojo Nkrumah to indicate that they have managed the power sector very well, it's a challenge. And I'll tell you why this intermediate, the people who called in, there's a reason for it. 6 months ago, the West African Gas Pipeline Authority had indicated to government of Ghana that they were going to do a picking exercise, that's a maintenance of the pipeline. And therefore, if you had power, if you had machines that were running on gas, depending on Nigeria, what you need to do is to find alternative fuels. What government usually would do at that particular time is to look for liquid fuels, and that's diesel, crude, and other things. So you had 6 months to buy the necessary parcels of fuel for the generators to be able to use. Unfortunately, government has not been able to buy that. So they are forced to ration power. They do not want to publish.
There has not been any official communication to the effect that
I am saying this because as part of my role, I'm a member of parliament and I'm a member of the Mines and Energy Committee. And therefore, I have full briefing on that. And I'm just saying that the generators are unable to procure fuel. And they can't do that because of the indebtedness in the particular sector. You are talking about a government that says that they are managing the power sector very well. For the first time in our own history, you have Gridco that was supposed to be a company that had very good fund. If you look at the 3 functional zones, Gridco had a very fairly financial health. Gridco struggles now to pay even just workers, not to talk of investment in their various infrastructure. And so when Kojo says them, sometimes I ask myself, is he listening to himself? Is he really reading the documents that were made available to him and things of this nature? So, I mean, the case has been settled within Ghanaians. And the case that has been settled is that, yes, there were power challenges between 2006 and 2014. But within 2006 and 2014, John Mahama comprehensively provided a solution to the problem. The only reason why today we are where we are is because people have simply decided to mismanage the sector. And so you and I can go home today, and if we go on our walls and put our hands there, we may not be able to get lights if we switch on the lights.
You talk about the debt, but the NPP or the government has also indicated that regarding debt, you went into very bad contracts. NDC and in this administration, you were part of the managers of the power and the energy sector. That you went into very bad contracts, take or pay. That if we're talking about debt, you were the originators of that debt.
You see, it is part of the insincerity of this government. You get up, if you drive, you will know that they tell you that you have a car that has maybe, they say the kilometers runs 200 kilometers per hour. But you and I know that when you're on the motorway and you're even speeding, you don't get up to 200 kilometers. It means that you have an installed capacity of the car that is 200, but the available capacity available to you may be about 160. Now, the minister decides to come to parliament and indicate that the installed capacity, he uses the installed capacity and says that we have 4,500. Meanwhile, the available capacity to is around 3,700. He tells her that, look, at peak.
I'm struggling to fit that into the take or pay.
Yes, I'm going to explain to you. The take arrangement. You see, take or pay is simply that you have had a contract with me.
So at the contract we don't use the power, but
if you don't use the power, you have to pay. So that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Why would you even enter into such a contract?
And unfortunately, and I'll tell you this, all thermal plants that we contracted after Akosombo were all take or pay basis. The reason is simple. The person is coming with a capital intensive investment. Before he comes in, he tells you that, look, I am coming to give you I'm going to use about $400 million to put up a 250 megawatts power. I must be able to guarantee that there's somebody who must offtake this particular power. So if I have to guarantee that, what then happens is that I need to be able to tell that as long as I can declare availability, you must buy. Before I get financiers to even finance that. And that's why the take or pay comes in. And that's why I'm saying that. Look at even the plans that under Kufuor were brought in. We're all on take or pay basis. But the issue is that...
So you see, you go back to the argument that it's been done before. It's not really
But I'm trying to say that there's no excess capacity. That's the point I'm trying to make. You see, where the problem is this. You look, their own document, and I always say, when you finish, take time and go and look. There's a document known as Energy Sector Recovery Plan that has been authored by this government. Just losses alone from ECG and other places where they could have put in investments. It's about 23 to 24. Indeed, yesterday, when ECG came to us, they say it's not 24.71% in terms of losses. If you translate that into monetary terms, that alone is about $400 million annually. If you take defaulters, those who do not pay their electricity bill, on an annual basis, about 180 million. Out of that, 80%, that's 150, is owned by government. Government itself is not even paying its bills. So when you see them come to tell you that they use take or pay as a screen, but the truth case of the matter, look, I will advise every media house to go and get that document. That document, they don't even want to publish it. They should go and get that document. It tells you where the debt is coming from. And there's not this excess capacity.
I see. All right. I still have here in the studio Member of Parliament for Bongo, Edward Bawa, also Mohammed Abdulaziz, Member of Parliament for Mion. We're talking about the debate. We will soon be taking you to Leboni, I beg your pardon, where the NDC is holding a forum there. Mr. Adongo is speaking on the economy, but Joseph Opoku-Gakpo was in Parliament for us. I'd like for him to wrap up for us what actually went down in Parliament today. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Gifty.
Right, Joseph. So at some point, we did say, we know that the minority indicated that they're not going to be a part of the debate, but I, at a point, saw the minority chief whip, Muntaka Mubarak, speak in Parliament at some point. Help us to understand. Give us a mental picture of what happened in Parliament today.
So, Kojo Nkrumah started the debate, the MP for Fatia Irebi. Subsequent to that, Muntaka Mubarak, the minority chief whip, indicated the minority were not participating in the debate. Chairman of the Finance Committee, NPP MP for New Job South, Dr. Makaspe Eboa, spoke subsequently. It was a very much one-sided conversation. Alexander Fenyomak, the MP for Futu, was contributing to the debate, and in the course of that, he kept virtually trying to draw out the minority MPs in the conversation. So he picked on each of the MPs. For example, Samuel Kujeta Black as the MP for North Song and makes the point that in his constituency, he hasn't seen the benefits that the Akufo-Addo administration has brought when it comes to the education sector. Then he goes on to the next NDC MP. He picked on the Adakso MP, a number of others, and additionally picked on the Aswati MP, Muntaka Mubarak, and was making the point that all the roads that are being done in some of those areas where they all come from, they expect that they should see the progress. So in the middle of that is what the minority chief whip, Muntaka Mubarak, after several minutes of being silent on the minority side, stood up and drew the speaker's attention that they weren't exactly excited about how Alexander Afenyo-Martins was virtually drawing them into the conversation, although they were not interested in participating in the debate. And him making the point about how in the course of debate, there shouldn't be efforts to personalize the conversation and all. And in making that point, Alexander Afenyo-Martins came back and indicated that he saw some of the words that Muntaka Mubarak had actually used on him were unparliamentary and was asking that it be withdrawn. And eventually the speaker ruled that that wasn't exactly unparliamentary with the words that Muntaka Mubarak used. So it was an issue of Alexander Afenyo-Martins deliberately drawing out the minority MPs into the conversation and Muntaka Mubarak getting up to make the point to the speaker that they don't want to be part of the debate, and so they are not excited about how Afenyo-Martins kept mentioning their individual names and trying to get them to talk about it.
Okay. Joseph, I'd like for you to also take us through briefly what key sticking points came up.
Right, and so as the majority side debated the issues, a number of points came up. The MP for Ofati Arabi, for example, make the point that efforts are ongoing to pay those who lost money as a result of the banking sector challenges and even the challenges with the savings and loans companies. He also made the point about how efforts have been made to avoid Ghana sliding back into the doomsday situation that we had in the past. He touched on the one district, one factory policy and indicated that 181 factories are at various stages of completion and that up to 50 of them are fully operational. The chairman of the Finance Committee spoke about how when it comes to the nation's macroeconomic indicators, they were looking better than how the NDC left it, and a number of other contributions. So eventually the House pulled brakes on the debate to go discuss the Narcotics Control Commission Bill 2019, which is currently before the House, and it's expected that the debate would continue on the floor tomorrow, even with the MPs on the majority side debating the president's address. Okay,
we also did note that many of the seats in Parliament today were empty.
Yes.
Even on the majority side?
Actually, on both sides of the House, speaking of both the majority and the minority. And if you pay attention to proceedings generally, on a regular day, apart from major addresses like the State of the Nation address and maybe budget presentation, the seats are usually empty, and the explanation is that MPs are doing other things, including committee work, than having to be on the floor. So it's just one of those days when everyone was not in the chamber, as it's usually crowded during the State of the Nation address and also during budget presentation.
Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo with a wrap of how that debate went in Parliament right now. So final words I'll take from you. If you're not debating, why stay in Parliament anyway? Because at some point, like Joseph is saying, Afenyo-Martins happened to some way, somehow manage to get the minority chief whip to speak, get on his feet and speak anyway.
When the motion was moved and the speaker was expecting that someone from the minority side would have seconded the motion, and I remember the speaker called on Muntaka to find out why no one was rising from our end to second the motion. That was when our chief whip made it very clear that we didn't intend to participate in that debate. And so, like I said earlier, we would engage the media, we would engage the Ghanaian public on all the issues that were raised, either by the president or those who debated the SONA. There will be another platform for us to do. There are issues of debt that we want to engage in. You also remember that when I read the Hansard, I read about the president also taking some personal credit for some transition, some gains that we have made in Dagbon. These are issues that I think that we should engage in, but not through the debate. Issues of debt, whether they have added more to our debt or not, and what they have used the debt for. Because clearly today, it is from records, our debt has moved from 120 to about 250 billion Ghana cedis. And the Ghanaian public cannot see any need, anything that they have used those monies for. And so Those are issues that I think that we will need to engage in as a minority. But like I said, through our leadership, we would identify the appropriate platform to use to engage the Ghanaian public. When you have a vice president go to Kumasi and you are talking about budget deficits and fiscal deficits and what have you, when we go to Kumasi, we have very fiscal objects to point to. We are talking about the KJTR market, the mall, the airport, and so we would engage, but at the appropriate time and through the appropriate platform.
Okay, your final word, Mr. Adongo.
Me, my final word.
I could just call you Mr. Adongo. Mr. Bauer.
Yes, the final words are there. Look, if you have a register that produces a president in 2012 and produces the current president in 2016, assemblymen, unit committee, and the president comes to make an argument that seems to suggest that he is not so confident about this current register, it means that his own legitimacy as a president is questioned. So why would I want to listen to a president whose own legitimacy is not even guaranteed by his own actions? So for me, and again, they say we are tenants. The real owners of the land have the land, so they should keep their land.
Okay, so you heard from members of parliament from Myong and Bongo, Edward Bauer, and then also Mohammed Abdulaziz, member of parliament from Myong. Thank you so much for coming. You've heard their thoughts and about what happened in parliament, but their party is also addressing a forum in Accra, here in Accra, in Laboni to be specific. Let's go over there. We listen to Isaac Adongo, his member of parliament for Bongo Central, Bolga Central, beg your pardon. He is speaking on the economy. If you recall, he's the one that tagged Vice President at the Wale Adam Smith. Well, let's go over there and listen to his thoughts on the state of the nation as far as the economy is concerned from the minorities' perspective.
Look at those numbers, 13. You want to wonder what exchange rate in 2019 can give you 3 billion at 13.6. Won't you be surprised that $3 billion, when the city was all over the place and was struggling to beg it to slow down, you are getting 13.46 billion. Not even at a rate of 5% to 5 cedis to the dollar. In 2019, I don't know where Dr. Baumia can get the cedi to the dollar that will give him 13.6 billion. So you see what they have done? They have decided to value the exchange, the Eurobond at a lower exchange rate. The price from it. And we were in our song. They came and gave us the utilization. And when you divide this, you see that 55 Ghana cedis to the dollar to translate this. Yeah, 4.55. And when they now brought the utilization and they gave us the numbers, I wanted to find out, okay, so these numbers you are reporting, what exchange rate did you use to get the numbers you are reporting? And you know what exchange rate they use? 5.42, which is the true exchange rate. So me too, I will go and translate it by how much you actually got. Because you are telling us that when you got the Eurobonds and you translated them, you got an exchange rate of 5.42. So that is the equivalent amount that came to you, which you spent in cedis, and not this concocted figure. If you can move on, we will find that when I did that, maybe you should go on further. You will notice that the figure that I got was about 16 point something billion. So right away, it means that they have also removed 3 billion from the Eurobond through just manipulating the exchange rate. So you see, our public debt is not straight, though. Our public debt, the foreign component of the public debt is suffering this kind of manipulation. And when I did it, I realized that they have also removed 3 billion from the Eurobond alone. When you add that to the 7 billion, I am getting 10.4 billion Ghana cedis that they have suppressed from our deficit. That is not even the problem. So if you got 16 billion, but your deficit has been cooked by about 10.4 billion, which means that your deficit is about 26 billion. How come you were able to get expenditures that fit your cooked deficit the way you wanted it? It means that the expenditures they are reporting have been cooked. Are you getting what I'm saying? You must cook the expenditure by another 10.4 billion to balance up and get a deficit of 16 billion and a debt to, what do you call it, a budget deficit of 4.9%. 5%. Ladies and gentlemen, I made an appeal to the press. I beg you, in the name of God, go and do an independent analysis of this. And call Ken Oforiatta, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and Bawumia to order. That when they misuse our monies, it is an insult to now want to cook the numbers and deceive us and not even tell us the truth. It is one thing overspending, but another thing consciously concealing the numbers. That is criminal and fraudulent. You can do that at Data Bank, you can do that at Enterprise, but don't do that with corporate Ghana for the good of Ghana. So on the back of this, we also now ask very critical questions. You also went ahead and paid contractors through Fidelity Bank. Where is that expenditure in our budget? Way dodge. So you see that when I added 10 point something to 16, I'm getting almost how much? I'm getting 26 billion. They also go and pay contractors through Fidelity Bank, and they don't report the expenditure anywhere. So if you add that 5 billion, how much is our deficit? 31 billion Ghana cedi. This is scary. These are not my numbers. These are numbers from the Ministry of Finance. Friends in the media, we cannot take this lightly. You see, as a result of that, they are now giving you a deficit that they want to point to you. And when you now do 31 billion as a percentage of our debt, you are now getting a deficit of about 9.8 billion. I want to call on the Auditor General as a matter of agency to commission a special audit into Ghana's euros bonds that have been issued over the last 3 years, totaling about $9 billion, and determine how they were used and how they were appropriately reported in order to establish our deficit. Because we passed a Fiscal Responsibility Act that criminalizes overspending beyond 5%. And Ken Oforiatta must be a subject of censorship of Parliament based on the information to be produced by the Auditor General. And if this work is not done now and it is done in 2021 when he's out of power, Ghanaians would have lost out on somebody who earned income from us and sat there and damaged us and will have no redress. So Auditor General, as a matter of agency, we want to know our public deficit so we can trigger the appropriate clauses within the Fiscal Responsibility Act. But what that also means is that investors obviously have been hoodwinked. They use this data to go and deceive investors. Investors bought Ghanaian bonds believing that our deficit was about 4.9%, when in actual fact our deficit is roaming around 9.8%. This data exclude what they describe as below the line or below the middle numbers. They already have their own way of accounting, and I'm saying that be reporting of public finances outside of international standards, because international standards are meant to guide uniformity in reporting so you can compare apples to apples and compare countries to countries and determine people who are of the same peers. Ghana today is living an island. We are cooking and reporting our own data. We are not subject to any comparison by anybody. That is not the Ghana we handed over to the MPP. We handed over a Ghana that ensured fiscal governance was transparent, and we accounted for issues and financials based on internationally accepted standards and not cooked data. And this must be reversed. So flowing from this cooked data, they now proceed to another indicator. And that indicator, we call it the primary balance. You know, these days they like primary balance. Every day our primary balance is in surplus, and it is the first time in the last 3 years. It's a lie. It has never been in surplus. Let me give you a very simple way of calculating our primary balance. What our primary balance does is to determine how much of our revenue and grants are spent to pay for part of our interest cost. When a country is spending part of its revenues to pay off its interest costs, it means that you are reducing the rate at which your debt would accumulate. But when you are borrowing to pay the interest costs, what you are technically doing is that you are paying interest upon interest, which we call, compounding of your debts. And compounding grows your debt faster than simple interest. And when you are able to pay your debt, it means your debt now transitions to become a simple interest, and you are reducing the rate of debt accumulation. Simple. So when you take your deficit, in your deficit includes the interest that you paid. So when you add back or you subtract that interest, do you get a positive figure or a negative figure? If you get a positive figure, it means that part of your revenue went to pay for your interest costs. If you get a negative figure, it means that your revenue was not sufficient to meet all your costs and pay part of the interest. And as a matter of fact, the monies you borrowed, part of it was used to pay the interest costs, which is not a good thing. So, MPP now realizes that if primary balance is equal to your total revenue and grants minus all expenditures except interest costs, then if we're able to manipulate our expenditure, we will get a primary balance that is surplus. Are you getting the picture here? So when we are able to succeed in removing 31 billion from the expenditures, let's say in this case about 15 billion from the expenditures, you'll get a primary balance. That is surplus. So just put only the 10 billion into the equation. Ayeka. What was surplus now begins to look like Akamu to be to Ghanaians. And when you add the full extent of the cooked data, you will find that our primary balance in 2019 was negative 3.5%. In other words, we are spending 3.5% of our GDP on borrowed money in order to pay for our interest costs. So Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, you can go to a town hall meeting and use cooked data. But today, we are doing an introspection. We want you to explain to us how you miraculously suppress expenditures to the tune of 15 billion to produce a primary balance that is positive, and you went telling the whole world that you have managed the economy better. He is worse than Walwale Adam Smith. In fact, Walwale people have warned me that he's not from there, so I should call him. The last time they sent a message through to me through ABF Husseini that he's from Sheriga, so I shouldn't be calling Walwale Adam Smith. I should be calling him Sheriga Adam Smith. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very serious matter. This is a very, very serious matter. For a whole country's finances to be reduced to ping pong. And I'm surprised that the media is not holding a government that is doing all this to Ghana to account. As a matter of fact, the NDC has an obligation to begin to go outside of Ghana and plead to the international community to come and save us from creative accounting. Because this creative accounting cannot be allowed to continue. It is the reason you are getting positive primary balance, and yet everybody is worried about your debt. Because when you are in negative primary balance, you see the rate at which your debt is growing. You are compounding your debt. And every world is seeing that your primary balance that you claim to be positive is not reflective of the dynamics of your public debt. You see, he used some words some time ago. If your public debt is what? If the fundamentals of your public debt or of your primary balance is what? Is weak, your public debt would expose you. So today, Ken Oforiatta, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and Akufo-Addo are caught red-handed cooking data. But it is not the first time they have cooked data. It has been part of the trademark. Ladies and gentlemen, having made it clear that our primary balance has been cooked, and as a matter of fact, Ghana's primary balance is a negative of 3.5%. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said he wants facts and figures. In order that he doesn't hide to go and stand at a separate platform and produce his own data, I want to meet him face to face and ask him to defend these numbers in the full glare of Ghanaians. And if they are able to find any magic to dispute the cooking that they are doing in their primary balance and their fiscal deficit, I will resign from politics for good. Ladies and gentlemen, political parties pursue power in order to raise revenue to take care of the developmental needs of their people. Therefore, revenues, public debt, primary balance mean nothing if we are unable to demonstrate how we have used that to practically improve the lives of our people. On this note, I would like to do a comparison of the resources that have been available to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for 4 years. I mean 4 years. And the resources that have been available to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for just 3 years. We have given him the 1 year. We'll dash it. We'll just dash him 1 year and see who did a better job in the years that we have been in power. In all the 4 years, total revenue and grants that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama got was 95.5 billion Ghana cedis. I think there's a slide to that. In just 3 years, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has gotten 142.11 billion. 48.8% more than His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And it is not for nothing that our elders say, to whom much is given, much is what? Expected. So we would like to ask, what did you do with 142 billion Ghana cedis of total revenues and grants? It is also on record that whilst John Dramani Mahama got over the 4 years 4.8 billion of oil revenues, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo got 13.95 billion in just 3 years. More than 2 times what John Dramani Mahama got. Once again, to whom much is given, much is expected. So having collected all these monies, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, what have you got to show us other than flying around the world in chartered jet? Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, what have you got to go and show the people of Walwale and Sheriga? Is Sheriga here? Perega? Aha, they are correcting me there. So you see, I'm not lying. They sent me a word that I shouldn't call them. I shouldn't call him today Walwale Adams Smith. I should be Sheriga Adams Smith. Perega Adams Smith. So, if you got all these resources and you go to a town hall, we expect you to account for the town hall. How much you have used this, what you have used these monies for. You go there and you are talking things you don't even understand. Inflation, exchange rate. I'll come to tell you why he doesn't understand inflation and exchange rates. And then you go in there to talk about public debt accumulation. Matters that you have demonstrated lack of competence to handle. I think this was the one he took away 2 days ago. Immediately after reading the budget, we were given an announcement that he's going to tour the whole world and come back. We are waiting for him. The work is still here. But even more shockingly is the fact that at the time that they were going to issue these Eurobonds, investors were worried about the consistently underperformance of our revenue. And when investors began to ask this due diligence question about why our revenues are low and how we are going to increase our revenue mobilization, they set the Ghana Revenue Authority in motion to start lying about meeting the target of our revenue. You remember that the Commissioner General led a team of Ghana Revenue Service to a church service to go and thank God for meeting the revenue target. This is how far they can go to throw dust, even in the eyes of the international community. But the data is very simple here. I don't know whether you can show the tax revenue or the total revenue. Total revenue and grants was budgeted at 58 billion at the beginning of the year. Then at mid-year review, they came back to say they will do 58.9 billion. As far as Parliament is concerned, and as far as our financial reporting requirements are concerned, the revised budget is the target for the ministry and for Ghana Revenue Authority, not any other data. Okay, so you can see there. They gave them these numbers. So 50, at the end of the period, after they revised the budget, they were supposed to deliver how much? 58.9 billion. Then in December, when they brought the budget and they realized that they cannot meet this, and due diligence questions were being asked by investors as to why we are consistently underperforming, they came and created a non-existent target, projected target. Have you seen there's a projected target there? It's alien to our financial reporting. As a matter of fact, the only target known to Parliament is the revised budget target. So they then realized that they cannot meet it, so they created their own target at 54.52. Even that one, they didn't meet it. They still got 52.54. And you are in church celebrating what? A clear strategy to throw dust in the eyes. And it was all over. You media houses were reporting GRA has met its target. You didn't verify. But this is their data. Azekadongo doesn't have the capacity to generate this data. This is from the Ministry of Finance's own fiscal report that was released ahead of the issuance of the bond. Look at the next line. Domestic revenue, they missed it. In fact, they even missed their own projected target. We are not even talking about the revised budget target. Tax revenue, they missed it. We are not even talking about the revised target. So they missed almost every single tax handle. But as masters of deception, they went to church and all of us followed them to church to go and celebrate. I'm sure that day the collection was very good in that church. Professor Adai, you are the last person I expect to do this to the people of Ghana. Because you were a man of integrity, right? He was. I said he was. That's why we thought he was, right? Today he is leading them to go and celebrate something that doesn't exist. Ladies and gentlemen, the media, you must hold these people to account and stop them from further deception and lies to the people of Ghana. And when you mention lies, you become allergic, and yet there's no appropriate word other than that. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and his team have consistently delivered numbers that are mind-boggling. You know, we were told that NDC is worse in terms of borrowing, and Bawumia was able to conjure some numbers to show that somehow or another, we borrowed more than they borrowed. Comparing apples to apples, John Mahama did 3 years. They have done 3 years. Is that not it? This data is showing between 2013 and 2015, this is how much John Dramani Mahama added to our public debt. How much? 64.24 billion Ghana cedis. Let's see Bawumia's baby, the father of all economists. What did the father of economists do? In 3 years, what did he do? 94.4 billion. Again, let me tell you that this number that we are showing is not even up to 3 years because they have given us data only up to November. So amount of money they borrowed in December is not here. We are so charitable, we have given them that 1 month. And yet, this is where they are compared to us. It takes a magical economist to see something different from what we are all seeing. But that was what he saw. But the worst of all is that if you look at how much we were adding to our public debts almost every month, the NDC was adding an average of 1.15 billion to our public debt every month, and a total of about 13 billion a year. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is adding 3 billion a month. 3 billion a month. And 36 billion a year. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, if you were owing a bank 36 billion, and they ask you to come and beg them, so they reduce it to 36, from 36 billion to 13.6 billion. Will you still accept 36 billion or you accept 13 billion? And yet you look Ghanaians in the face and you tell us some rate of debt accumulation that is magical. But this is the reality. How can somebody who is adding 13 billion a year increase debt at a faster rate than somebody who is increasing it by 36 billion? So me like that, I'm in the ring, I'm in the track with Usain Bolt, with this my tortoise and my weak heart. And then you tell me that I can run faster than Usain Bolt and you want me to believe it. Yeah. So, quite clearly, the numbers are showing a very scary situation. But I want to say that if you look at what has happened in the last couple of months, it is even worse. Because only a week or two ago, this government went and borrowed $3 billion Eurobond. It is not here. That figure is not here. It is sitting somewhere to come. Then, as if that is not enough, they went ahead again to illegally borrow $500 million without parliamentary approval. You see that all along they are not mentioning $500 million anywhere. They are mentioning $3 billion. That is an illegality against Article 181 of the Constitution, and we want to send a strong warning that will contest this at the Supreme Court. We cannot allow this to happen. So they went and borrowed $500 million in what they refer to as global medium-term note. 500 million. And what is even worse is that they sold it at Doncome. You know what Doncome is? They sold the bonds at a discount. When investors are trying to buy our bonds at a premium of sometimes 10 to 12%, we are selling that same bond to our cronies at a discount of 98% and gifting them 2%. If you calculate 2% of 500 million, that gives you $10 million free money. You see, this is what happens when your finance minister himself is your investment advisor, and he's the one who collects fees from your borrowing. He will not think about you, he will think about his interests. And even when he does that, he tries to go behind to collect the money without people of Ghana knowing. So you have 3 book runners: Fidelity, Data Bank Brokerage, IC Security, StanChart. They pay everybody their fees from our bonds that they run the books. Data Bank alone goes to collect their money from Fidelity Bank. Who are you hiding away from? Possibly to avoid conflict of interest. But the time will come when he will account for every single penny. Now, in issuing this Eurobond, which didn't come, this $500 million, which didn't come to Parliament, the prospectus make very serious claims and surrenders the sovereignty of Ghana to investors. It says that Ghana has waived its immunity to our jurisdiction being the source of law of the agreement. and that the people of Ghana have surrendered our sovereignty to anybody who holds that bond, and you can actually serve us court processes at our High Commission in the United Kingdom. And as a matter of fact, if you win a case, you can actually decide to seize our assets abroad. Sovereignty of Ghana. The sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people, and the people is Parliament of Ghana. And Ken Ofori-Atta will account for this surrender and sale of Ghana on a silver platter to international investors. And we intend to pursue this to the latter. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, as I've already indicated, and the NDC in 8 years moved our public debt from about 9.7, let's say 10 billion, to 120 billion. That in total gave us about 110.3 billion additional debt in the whole of 8 years. If you add the 3.5 billion that I have just mentioned, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, in just 3 years, 2 months, have added 135 billion to our public debt. When the NDC spent just 110 million in just all 8 years, 3 years, 2 months, you have done all of that. And you now say that the rate of debt accumulation that you have conjured, they don't speak to the facts. This is what John Mahama did with his money. You can all see, road sector, beautiful Ghana. Don't you like it? Just go on. Don't you like this? Which hospital is this? Rich. Don't you like this? We can go on and on and on. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 135 billion. What did you do with the money? Corruption. CDD says that they steal 9.6 billion of our money every year. If it is not corruption, they are taking $150 million from the World Bank in the fight against Galamsey. It ends up with excavators on wings. PDS, we lost $1.5 billion from PDS. You can count them, contaminated oil. You'll find the guinea fowls that they claim got to Burkina Faso. Those were guinea fowls. Now tricycles have developed wings. You see, this is what they are using our money for. Private jets. You look inside. Show me the next slide. You see the inside. You see, Skabe de Pagana Sike didn't phone no. Yakobo Bosia, Prema Sem, and Ediasikane. Oh. So Prema Sem Akufo-Addo Edi. Yanga say a top plane na man no pair no akwa charter flight. No the nam amansanyina. Ladies and gentlemen, the bleeding of Ghana is just too much. And you need to bring the humble servants who have the people of heart, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to come back and save us from distress. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said that their debt to GDP is better than us. Let's do the comparison of records. Again, from 2013 to 2014, or 2015, which is the 3 years of John Dramani Mahama, our debt to GDP moved from 51% to 55%. That's an addition of how much? 4%. They have moved it from 55% to about 62.3%. As of November, we are not even closer to December. As of November, almost 7% more. But Bawumia says 7% addition to debt to GDP is better than what we did. The reverse analysis of debt to GDP. In fact, you will notice that even though Dr. Bawumia was talking about debt to GDP from 2012 to 2016, the data that he was using from 2014 to 2016, do you know why he did that? Because from 2013 to 2014, John Dramani Mahama actually reduced debt to GDP from 47% to 42%. Dr. Bawumia was not confident enough to show the people of Ghana that for the first time since 2013, it is only His Excellency John Dramani Mahama who managed to bring down debt to GDP from 47% to 42%. Now that we have added 3.5 billion to our public debt, by the end of February, we expect our debt to GDP to increase to 68%. We are moving towards the dangerous levels of 70%. I didn't say that. And you have nothing to show for it. Our children will come and pay this money. It is in the interest of Ghanaians and the future of posterity that this man is removed in 2020, so 2021 we can restore dignity to our economy. I now want to move and take my focus to the Eurobond transaction. They said that they are better borrowers. The people said that we didn't need to borrow. Now they say they are better borrowers. They went on the world market and they got good interest rate, and it is thanks to the good economic management of our country. I want you to take it from me today that no country will give money to a country for 41 years because of a president who has only 10 months in office. Will you go and call that man 40 years from now to come and pay you your money? Nobody does that. So if you want to measure the confidence that people have in you in giving you money, you must measure the tenure of your loans that are consistent with the tenure that you have. And over the last period, we are getting 6% subscription to bonds that are closer to Akufo-Addo's 1 year, 10 months reign. The second one is that globally everybody knows, and I want you to study this data very critically, those who can see. Globally, there's a lot of money in the global capital markets. The American stock exchange has grown by about 56%. What it means that prices of stocks on the American stock exchange is at an all-time high. This one, level 100 investment banking will tell you that when stocks of companies are high, that is the time you do what? You sell. Because very soon the market will correct itself and the prices will begin to come down. So you buy when prices are low and you sell when prices are what? High. So at this time when prices are high, American investors are selling off their stock. Now they have a lot of money. Where should they send it? They don't know where to send it. Investors in Asia who were investing in samurai bonds in Japan and panda bonds in Japan and China are now struggling to offload their monies as a result of coronavirus. So there's a lot of money all over the place. Unfortunately for them, interest rates across the globe is coming down, said that even banks in the UK are struggling to make profit because of low interest rates. As a result of this, they are looking for the best opportunities to invest the money. Then comes the Republic of Ghana with freebies. You look there. The first one you see there is our Eurobond that is maturing in 2023. You will see the last price, and you will see the bid price, and you will see the yield to maturity at 4%. At 2020, this is level 3 years to mature. What it means is that investors are willing to give us money for 3 years at 4%. Do you understand that? Good. So if you come and you say you give 6%, everybody will be rushing at you because you don't know what you are doing. That is why you get this oversubscription. In fact, the bonds that they even used, they issued recently. After 2 weeks of issuing the bonds are going at a premium. In other words, the interest rate we gave is so high that it is the best investment opportunity in the world. Said that if you bought it only a few days ago, you are getting about 2% free money. The yield has already started coming down to about 7.8%. So if you do the calculation on what the yield to maturity or how much investors are willing to pay or to take as interest on our bonds to what we offered, we have given out close to almost $15 billion free money to investors in the next 5 to 10 years. Tell me who doesn't like cheaters. Don't call me, you won't come for it. And you see, the reason why when you are selling a sovereign, what we issued is a sovereign. And a sovereign is a rare commodity in the world because you have the entire country guaranteeing your money. It will never go bad. The worst case scenario is that they'll come and sell all of us and collect their money. So sovereign at 8%, When those that you have issued, I'm willing to buy them at a higher price and earn only 3-4%, and you say you give me 8%. Hallelujah. It is the reason the bonds were oversubscribed. It is not because of any magic wand from a 75-year-old man who is going out of office in the next 10 months. Dr. Mahmoud.
And we bring the curtain down on that broadcast. Isaac Adongo is Member of Parliament for Bolga Central there, addressing a forum being organized by the NDC, the opposition NDC. He's been talking about the economy. Earlier on, they spoke about the Member of Parliament for Esnafo South, Eric Opoku, spoke generally about agriculture, about education, about health, etc. Right now, let's do business life with George Abwaje Riafe. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Many thanks for staying with me here on the show. Emmanuel Abwaje Riafe, I beg your pardon, do stay for Business Life. We'll bring you analysis of the minorities press conference or their forum in our subsequent bulletins.